Okay, so welcome. And as Stuart Clark has just said, this is the first event of Leeds Digital Festival 2020. How exciting. I've had over 330 sign-ups for this event, which is just brilliant for a Leeds Digital Festival event. It's beaten my best one at Leeds Digital Festival, which was, I think, last year 220. We got about 180 people arrived in Leeds City College's Printworks, which was great. We've still got people joining us, which is why I'm rambling slightly. But we've got, well, the good news is we've got over 60% that have signed up already here, which is great. Can't expect much more than that. Caroline Johnson's just joined. Okay, so let's get started. We're here to talk about LinkedIn. I hope that's what you're expecting. After this, I'm expecting that you're going to have amazing LinkedIn profiles. You're going to be generating unbelievable amounts of clients and work from LinkedIn. Please ask questions throughout. There's a lot of you. I will try and answer questions, but genuinely would like some questions throughout. So please do try and test me. It would be quite nice to get an idea of the room, if that's all right. So I'm going to ask you a question, and it would be quite nice to get to know you a tiny bit. So what are you trying to sell is my question. What are you trying to sell? So is it a product, a service? Are you trying to sell yourself to get a job, or not trying to sell anything? So answer away. Maybe I've missed it. If I've missed it, then let me know on the chat what you were trying to sell. If I've missed it, well, okay, I don't need the specifics. Thanks, Emma. Thanks, Dan. Don't need the specifics, but you're welcome to spam the chat for a bit if you want. Space, a service, that's on there. That's on there. Okay, so we've nearly got, we've still got another 30 people to vote. Come on, guys, I need to keep you, this is my challenge, okay? I've got to get you engaged this whole time. I've got an hour to keep you engaged. So this is going to be the best Leeds Digital Festival event so far. Okay, it's the first one for 2020. But I've got to set the bar really high and keep you engaged the whole way through. So what have we got? 172. Come on, we can get a few more votes. All right, let's end the poll. Let's see what the results are. The results are the service wins with 62%. Oh, trying to get jobs. Do your employers know? 20% of you are trying to get jobs. Oh, I should share the results. Sorry, I didn't click share. You should now be able to see the results. So 13% of products. We've got 62% service and 20% trying to get a job. Not trying to sell anything. Good to hear. What are you doing here? I do wonder, but that's all good. Okay, so let's just do another question because we're talking about LinkedIn, aren't we? So how often do you use LinkedIn? How often do you use LinkedIn? Is it daily, weekly, monthly, rarely? If it's if I've missed the option, pop it in the chat. Let me know. So we're hammering the votes here. We're still getting new attendees as well, which is unbelievable. Okay, I'm going to share the results. Just allow 5 seconds. Come on, there's still a few people that haven't clicked their mouse. They're clicking now. Okay, who's going to win? Do I believe this? How often do you use LinkedIn? Okay, quite new to this. Where's the poll? Ah, so you should have a flashing bar probably at the bottom of your screen or the top of your screen. Depends on what device you're on as well. So it's quite difficult to but it will be there somewhere. Just to share the results with you. So daily wins with 65%. What I'd love to know is are you actually using it strategically? So you use LinkedIn daily, but how strategic are you? If you're strategic, put an S in the chat. Put an S in the chat if you're strategic at using LinkedIn. So we've got, we've got a few. So you guys can go. Why are you here? If you know what you're doing. We've got some sort ofs. I'd like to think so. Try to be. Okay. So I'd wonder why you're here. If you're using it strategically, then it's good to hear. So okay, let's move on. I think the objectives of this are to improve the presence on LinkedIn, to be relevant to your potential clients, to use LinkedIn to win new business, use LinkedIn to carry out research, learn how to build trust, understand how social influences search engine optimization. That's my core skill, search engine optimization. It's where I came from. And so for me, I'm quite passionate about the SEO side of things. Coming up with a plan and to be strategic. Ruth is looking to learn from the master. Gosh, that's setting the bar high, isn't it? Wow. Going to stop sharing those poll results because it's in the way of your slides, I've just realized. So let's change that. Bear with me a second. Okay, so those are the things that I think we're trying to achieve. It'd be interesting to know if I'm wrong there, and let me know. Tiny bit about me. So qualified optician, lots of credibility to be sat here talking to you guys about LinkedIn and search engine optimization and digital marketing. Well, quick story, had an optician's practice in Leeds City Centre. We set up a sunglass business selling sunglasses, obviously, an e-tail business online. Started it in the dot-com boom, 99. We were at the top of Google for everything to do with sunglasses, designer sunglasses, Red sunglasses, Armani sunglasses, Gucci sunglasses. We sold every single brand you could imagine. And sales were unbelievable. We knew that we were the biggest e-tailer. We were buying direct from the manufacturers, and we were buying them more than Shade Station. We were buying more than Debenhams, and it was a brilliant business. In 2004, sales dropped. Didn't really know why. Took us a month to realize that we'd been pushed to page 7 of Google. No one ever goes to page 7 of Google. I went through 2 SEO agencies over an 18-month period, and neither of them solved the problem, even though we'd spent tens of thousands of pounds. It was really frustrating. In the end, I found a guy in New York who was on $250 an hour. Within 2 weeks, he fixed it and got us back. It was a really annoying time, and I just came out of it. I was a minority shareholder. We needed to invest to take over Shade Station and Debenhams because they'd sort of taken over at that point. And as I said, I was really frustrated. So I sort of came out of it wanting to help businesses understand what all this was about. Social media for me is just self-taught and been doing it from a very early age. So if you want to be good at LinkedIn, before you do any type of marketing at all, you need to have a very clear goal and objective. I am going to get to some very practical tips and tricks on LinkedIn. I'm also going to give you at the very end a way. I'm going to send you an email, a way for you all to network afterwards to try and find out who attended and to speak to each other. So I'm not going to share the attendee list because you've not given me permission for that. But at the very end, I will give you a way to hopefully be able to network with each other as well. But what is your goal? So that's the first thing. What are you trying to achieve? And it's all about having a very SMART goal as well. So hopefully some of you will be familiar with SMART, which is specific, measurable, agreed, realistic, and timely. So what is your objective? What are you trying to achieve? Does anyone want to share a very SMART objective or goal in the chat with me? There's quite a few of you there. It'd be quite interesting to see if any of you have got a SMART. Can you move the slide a little so we can see some? Can everyone not see the slide? You might be able to move some stuff out of your way. I don't think I can move it at all, so apologies for that. Better engagement with B2B stakeholders. If anyone else has got, I'd like to maximize post reach through both posts and articles, driving more leads to client businesses, to target a specific competitor's client base with a specific market within the next month. Okay, that's starting to sound strategic because we've got specific competitors within a month. Ellie, increased traffic to website by 20% in the next 3 months. Okay, now we're getting smart. Reach out to 100 Australian-based contacts. Phil, that's great, but I'd say why, and can we describe the contacts? Get 10 comments a day on my daily post by the 30th of May. Interesting. Well, I mean, you could pay someone to comment on your post. Is that what we're after? I'm not sure. So if you are tweeting, by the way, make sure you use the hashtag LeedsDigi20 and mention me, and I'll retweet afterwards. Ian Smith, get 50 signups to my online workshop. Okay, can you be even smarter? By when? Is that realistic? Ruth Winden, okay, genuine comments only. Craig Pickles, for those having problems, make sure the slides are set to fit to the window. Then you should see the whole slide and Jonny at the same time. Hello. Thanks, Craig. Driving customers from colleagues' profiles to business pages to increase leads. So I would suggest that some of these need to be a bit smarter. They all need numbers. They all need a time. And how are you going to measure them? And can can we quantify it as well? So an increase in traffic, or an increase in comments, or an increase in posts, or engagement, or connections. What is it we're trying to, can we quantify it with the quality? So how can we add something into that to add the quality into there as well? So that would be my challenge to you. And so it would be around trying to come up with something that you feel is quite, it might be that you have an overriding objective, and then you have some goals to try and meet that objective. So if anything, I'd take you back to what's the purpose of the business? What is it you're trying to achieve? And some of the stuff that some of you have mentioned are sort of much lower level when you get to LinkedIn. So I want to take you back quite a big step and think about what are the things that I'm trying to achieve within the business. What's the objective for the business in the next 3 months, the next 6 months, the next 12 months? And typically you could spend a full day coming up with this type of thing. But obviously we're not going to do that right now. And we're going to step into LinkedIn very shortly. But I would challenge you all to think of something a bit smarter and go right back to the business itself and what it is exactly that you're trying to achieve. So Helen's just added, be publicly recommended on LinkedIn, but credibility. Sounds good. Okay. And how are you going to measure that though? Publicly recommended by who and how many times and by when? So let's make it smarter. Let's make it smarter. So the thing about LinkedIn or any social media platform, I think if you can understand Google or a search engine, then I think you've got a very good chance of doing well on social media. And I think the key thing is to understand how how search engines think. So just to take everyone back a step, and in fact, I don't want to teach people to suck eggs here, but just to get an idea, just throw in the chat if you've got marketing as one of your sort of main roles, or you've got a team of people underneath you that are marketing, just put yes or put an M for marketing. So we've got quite a few. If you if sales is a big part of your role, or a team beneath you that's sales, just put sales or an M or yes. Okay, it's got quite a few sales. If neither sales or marketing, let's just put N for no or no or neither. Okay. Have to do it all as in one person business. Yep, makes sense. So all the no's, I'd challenge you all and say that if you're in business, or if you're trying to promote yourself or trying to get a job or whatever it might be, then you need some kind of marketing or sales bone within your toolkit. And to be fair, my question was, is it sort of 50% or more? But I think in every organization, every single individual needs to have a sales and marketing bone. And for every part of the job that they do, they need to be thinking of that all the time. So I want to strip you right back to web traffic and to understand how the World Wide Web works, more importantly, to think like a search engine, to then apply that to social media. So if we think of different traffic across the web, so we've got organic traffic. That's natural traffic where you search for something in Google and naturally something comes up and you click it and you go through. Paid traffic is where you search for something, but you've got an advert at the top. That we class as paid. Display traffic is where you Google something, you go on, for example, the Jet2 website or the M&S website, and then the next minute, every other website you go on, you're seeing Jet2 adverts or M&S adverts because it's literally just following you around. So that will be classed as display traffic. Social traffic, so that's where people, LinkedIn, that's what we're talking about today. So people are on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, etc., clicking through and coming to your website. Email, where you're sending email marketing out and people are clicking links and then coming back to your website. Referral traffic is where you were on someone else's website. So let's say, for example, I'm a solicitor and I am on the Law Society's website. Someone clicks that link, comes through to my website, and that will be classed as referral traffic. And then direct traffic is where someone's literally typed your address in the bar at the top, and that will be classed as direct traffic. So that's the different types of traffic. As I said, it's really important to understand from my point of view how SEO works, and we built and maintain the Law Society website. Brilliant. How SEO works and how you can apply those same techniques to a platform like LinkedIn. So Google is after great content. It's simple. It's after great content. It's ensuring that the content is accessible to the search engines. So that's typically around around the search engine being able to understand the website from a technical point of view. Now, you certainly don't need to worry about the technical side of LinkedIn. There's nothing you can do to change it. In some cases it's terrible, and whilst we're on that subject, the LinkedIn app, I think, is awful, and I would say that the best thing to use is the desktop version of LinkedIn, because there's so much more, you can do a lot more with it, and I find the app really, really limiting. It's another story though. SEO, it's about great content, it's about pages across the website that are unique and relevant, and it's about making content popular and ultimately good PR. So people talking about you and linking to you, and that's what good SEO is all about. Mel agrees with the app being poor. It's terrible. So there's two sides to search engine optimization. You've got the site itself, which is all about keywords, the content, the technical aspect, the usability. So that's around, a website. Does it work on a mobile phone, for example? And if it does, then that's a tick box. How fast is it? How easy is it to use? But the things to really focus on for this webinar is all about keywords and content. So if you want to be found for a particular thing, then have you thought about those words in your content? So naturally, the words that people would search for within Google. And have you got some really good content? Because there's no point having poor content. We need to have good content, extremely good content. So have a think about some of the things, some of the clients, some of the words that potential clients or some of your existing clients might type into Google, some of the questions that they might ask, some of the FAQs that they might ask. On the second side of search engine optimization, so we're now talking about offsite. So a moment ago we were talking about on-site, and that's about the content and the usability. Now we're talking about off-site, so not on the website anymore, but around the World Wide Web. We need relevancy. We need people talking about us. We need links. We need reviews. We need a good reputation. So it's about how, thinking of your LinkedIn profile, how you can apply the same things. And so we're going to talk about these different things. So just sticking with the SEO side of things for a moment, if we focus very much on the keywords for on-site, how can you come up with keywords? And one of the best ways to come up with keywords is literally just typing things into Google. So typing questions that you think or phrases that you think into Google. And typically what then happens is that Google starts showing you some more content. So it shows you related, it tries to think about some of the things that you're going to ask or type in. And the only way that this is presented there is based on data. So it's based on what other people have searched before. And if it's there, it means that people have searched it before. Now, if you put a question into Google, you'll find that lower down the page, Google suggests other questions that people have also asked. That is a brilliant way to find content and keywords. So you literally just type a question into Google around your products and services, have a think about what existing clients or current clients might ask for, and put that into Google. And what you'll find is lower down the page, there'll be a people also ask box. And as you interact with that box, it actually shows you more and more questions. And that would be a great way to start thinking about content. Katie Thompson has asked, is there a way we can get data on search queries for LinkedIn, similar to how we can search volumes on Google? I'm not aware of that. If anyone else is aware of the answer to that, please do let me know, but I don't believe so. Just one thing I have noticed, by the way, for the people that joined us a bit later, I did mention that when you type a message, there's a little blue drop down above the message that you can change to all panelists or all panelists and attendees. A lot of you are still typing to just me, which is fine, more than happy, but if you want other people to see your comments, then just change that to all panelists and attendees, and that might just make a difference for you. So yeah, I don't believe you can. Good question though, like it. So we're talking about keywords and how to come up with different keyword ideas, and then we're also talking about the good content as well. So offsite, imagine your website, or for this case, your LinkedIn profile is the center of this spider's web. And thinking about all the different potential links around the World Wide Web talking about your website or your LinkedIn profile and linking to your website or your LinkedIn profile. And there's lots and lots of different layers of links, lots of different types of links. And and here is a slide full of different ideas. So I'll give you a moment just to take some of that in. Whilst Ella Davis has just asked a question, for keywords and hashtags, you can search them on LinkedIn and it shows how many people follow that. Very good point. I tend to use the words with most followers for my posts. That's a really good point. It certainly does show you hashtag numbers. So thank you for that. So this slide is a full and entire list of different ways you could potentially get links to your website. And the more people are talking about your website, the higher typically in Google it gets. And we've got to think about that same concept for LinkedIn as well. So how can we have some really good content, but how can we have lots of people talking about the profile as well? How are we doing? We okay? Let's put some yeses or nos in there. Phil Fraser, are links still important? Quantity versus quality? Surely. Okay, people are good. I've got no no's so far. Hopefully you're enjoying your first Leeds Digital Festival event. Hopefully you're signed up to lots more. So with regard to Phil's question there, with regard to links are extremely important. Google doesn't have a way of really measuring. It's got lots of different ways, but it's not got robust ways in measuring good metrics on websites, and so it has to triangulate all the time, and links still work. So whilst Google's obviously come out and said, no paid for links, it's all about the relevancy. So that example of being a solicitor and having a link from the Law Society is a good example of a good link. A link from the BBC, a link from the Guardian, a link from the Telegraph, a link from a university, a link from a college, a link from a government website are all trusted places, so associations, etc. So yes, links are really important, but it is about the quality of the link. Okay, let's get on to LinkedIn. That's why you've arrived here. Hopefully you've now got the concept of SEO and how we can apply search engine optimization to LinkedIn. So here we've got LinkedIn. First thing to make it really clear is that we're not just talking about LinkedIn on the LinkedIn platform. We're also talking about LinkedIn within Google. So there's a Google search here, and I just wanted to show you how my LinkedIn profile appears with my website as second. So there is a good opportunity for LinkedIn profiles to appear high in Google, and it's about really thinking about how you can maximize traffic to your LinkedIn profile, not just through LinkedIn, but also through Google as well. And there's some huge opportunity for being visible within Google's platform through your LinkedIn. And some of that is around privacy settings. So it's around, look, in my opinion, this is how I use different social networks. So Facebook is quite a closed network. If you're not a friend of mine, then you can only see my public posts, but you can't see the majority of my posts. There's lots of family stuff, food stuff, all sorts of different music stuff, all sorts of different stuff in there that is just for friends and family. I do use Facebook from a business point of view, but the majority of my settings on there are quite private. With regard to LinkedIn, I'm completely the opposite, and pretty much everything isn't your in Googling pre-biased? Probably. I just wanted to show you an example. I actually think if you were to search that, you might get a similar result, but I might be wrong. So what was I saying? I was saying that I've totally lost my track of thought. So I was saying that someone help me. LinkedIn. It's gone. You're not wrong, but there'll be more ads. Facebook and settings. Thank you. Yes, thank you. So thanks, Jackie. Privacy settings. So on LinkedIn, with regard to privacy settings, I'm very open. Everything's public, and the more data I feed LinkedIn, the more I get out of it. So I'm sort of quite, for example, I get the LinkedIn app, even though it's rubbish. I get it on my phone and I allow it to see all my contacts. Now, the reason for that is because I know that if one of my friends joins LinkedIn or starts interacting on LinkedIn, LinkedIn knows that there's a connection because of because it can see that person in my phone book. So there's a good chance at some point LinkedIn's going to suggest oh, don't you know Jonny? Do you want to connect with him? And likewise, from an SEO point of view, the more data that I give it, the more words that I give it, the more previous jobs, etc., the more chance that there's that I'm going to get something from it. So I do give LinkedIn a huge amount of stuff. Do you get permission from your contacts to give them to LinkedIn? Good question, Grant. I'm not a lawyer, and I'm sure we'll end up going down the GDPR route here. However, yes, I do. If LinkedIn asks, can I look at my contacts? I allow it. Whether that's right or wrong, go and get legal advice. So how can you optimize your profile? That's what you're wanting to know. So there's some really simple stuff. So the first thing is we've talked about that public profile setting and how to give it as much visibility as possible. Include as much as you can within your profile. Add some credibility from Google's point of view and LinkedIn's point of view by customizing the URL of your profile. So instead of just numbers or the random generated URL that it creates, if you Google create a custom URL for LinkedIn, you can edit that and you can change to your name or something similar. Promote your profile. Where can you put it? On email signatures? Where else could you promote it? Could you link to your website and blog? So let me explain that. So on each LinkedIn profile, you're allowed up to 3 links. Now, I've talked about search engine optimization here, and LinkedIn is a trusted platform. It allows you to link to up to 3 properties across the World Wide Web. So maybe you've got a company website, maybe you've got a blog, a personal blog, or a personal shop. You can link up to 3 different things on your personal profile. So if you imagine if you've got teams of people, and let's say you've got 20 people, or 50 people, or 2,000 people, if you imagine that every single one of those profiles is linking to your company website, you've suddenly got a huge amount of SEO coming from LinkedIn to your website. So we're talking about how to use LinkedIn both ways here, and it's really important to make sure that we think about how we could use profiles or our employees' profiles to generate links to our online profiles. If you get requests from people you don't know, it is worth connecting with them. I'm probably too fearful about making connections. Well, I'm going to come on to that very, very shortly. You obviously knew I was going to ask that, so that's good to know. Let's move on. So I'm going to talk about the different profiles and just some examples of profiles. So this is Susie Brain England. She was the chair of the IOD in Yorkshire a number of years ago, and she, when you first connect with someone on LinkedIn, depending on the privacy settings, you will be able to see their email address. So you can see Susie's personal email address here. She does know that I use this slide. Don't start spamming it, please. Although she may have updated it now on LinkedIn. But you can see her personal email address. And the key thing there is that, first of all, you can add as many email addresses as you want to your LinkedIn profile. But the second thing is you can tell it which email address to show as your email address. And my advice is to use your work email address. First of all, it means all spam will go to work. But second of all, it's a branding opportunity. And it's just not as professional using your personal email address. Munir's asking how many hashtags per post. I don't think there's a sort of simple, prerequisite recipe because you could end up doing more than you should or less than you should. I think it's just about being sensible. If I was forced to an answer, probably only 3 or 4. But it depends what the content is, and it depends what you're wanting to put in that post and what the content is, very much so. So first thing is think about your email address. Second thing, now Stephen, I know Stephen, and I don't think he's watching, but I'm not sure that using a selfie is the best thing to do on LinkedIn. So have a think about your profile picture. Jonathan is a very good example of a good profile. So the first thing is that he's using his header image. That header, you can put some content in, you can put some advertising in, and it's free on the basic LinkedIn. You can have whatever picture you want up there. So if I just go back a slide, some people don't have any pictures at all, but you've got the opportunity to add some branding. The other thing is that Jonathan has thought about keywords. So he's thought about keywords in his headline. which is job title stroke headline. You can have two different things. So in his headline here, we've got corporate lawyer, advisor to SEIS funds, tech and innovation businesses, etc., employee share specialist. He's not just put solicitor, he's not just put lawyer. And so he's really thought about keywords in his headline. And then the second thing is he's thought about keywords in his biography. So as you read his biography, he talks about financing businesses, corporate finance, corporate restructuring, etc., etc. So just to keep you all engaged, because we've managed to keep most of you here so far, which is just unbelievable and amazing. So thank you very much for putting your time in. But just to keep you all engaged, I'm going to ask you a poll. So whilst we're looking at Jonathan's profile, one of the things I've talked about is he's thought about keywords in his bio. So my question to you is, when did you last review your about section, your bio? Was it today, last week, last month, last year, or never? Let's have a listen to what people have done. Do we believe the people that are saying today? Do we believe it? Come on, let's get everyone engaged. There's still a few of you to go. We've just hit 80%. Whoever's listening that hasn't clicked, get back to your screen, read the question, click the poll. You've got 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2. Oh, we've hit nearly 90%. 1. Let's go. Who won? So the answer is, well, last year. 39% of you, nearly 40% of you have not reviewed your about section since last year. 8% have never looked at it. So it's about thinking about, oh, I've not shown you the results. Note to self. Now you should be able to see the results. So think about, when did you last review your profile and what keywords could you be putting it in there? And so some of you are doing it now. So let's not do it now. Focus on me. Some of you are going to be doing it afterwards. And how do you know which keywords to include in your sector? So just a bit of common sense initially. Think about what people might search. Think about what clients might ask. What do people ask when they first when you first pick up the phone to them? Maybe you've got people that answer the phones for you. Ask them, what do customers ask us? What do people ask us? What's the ideal word count for a description? Always worried I've written too much, too less. I don't think there's an ideal again. I think, I'd probably say there's a minimum of 500 words. I don't think there's too much. I really don't think there's too much at all, because don't forget, LinkedIn will only show a small amount, and it would take a user interaction to click it to read more, and so I don't think there can be too much in there at all. And I'd aim for a minimum of 500 words. Someone's telling me that you only get 2,000 characters, so that's good to know. Thank you for that. Would you advise short and sweet or long? So I would say, I'd personally say long, because from an SEO point of view, the more words in there, the better. You might want to have a succinct, short and sweet top paragraph, but as you go down into, I'd want to see lots of detail. As a salesperson, do you focus on your credentials or your companies? Neither, probably. I would focus on your client, whoever you're trying to attract, whether that be a job, someone going to give you a job, or a potential client. I would focus on their pain points. So I'd think about them, and I'd think about their problems, and I'd talk about how you can solve their problems, and talk to them. Just use the word you and yours, and really talk to them in detail. Let's just look at a few different profiles here. So here's Giles without a picture. Really difficult to engage with someone that doesn't have a picture. So I think pictures are really important, and I think the privacy settings, allowing them to be public, is also really important as well. Now, I don't know if any of you know Keith. Hopefully he's not watching. I have no idea if he is, but that's just the way of going live and going public. Keith helps business owners make best use of LinkedIn, making new connections and collecting more customers. Well, the average person on LinkedIn has about 150 connections. He's helping us connect with people, and he, at this time of this screenshot, had 66 connections. So it's all about being authentic as well. You've really got to be authentic. If anyone knows Keith, feel free to let him know that he features in my slides. Question, don't know if any of you know Joanne, lovely lady. No picture, what have you got to hide, is my first thought. Oh, rescue me. Someone just put their password on or something, I'm not quite sure. So Joanne Clayton, I don't know if you know Joanne. Um, can I ask a question? Just looking at her profile, would you do business with her? Yes or no? Yes, in the chat. Y for yes, N for no. She won't take it personally. So we've got lots and lots of yeses just based on her profile. Yes, very clear, smile, full content, great, okay. What about Jonathan? Would we do business with Jonathan? Does anyone know Jonathan? Hell no. Brilliant. Photo is awful. Money grabbing, loves himself. Great, okay. What about Jill? Would we do business with Jill? We've got yeses. Great, okay. Julian, would we do business with Julian? Difficult, isn't it? We can't see him. We can't decide. Barry, he's he's got his hand out. He's welcoming. I think I'd do business with Barry. Oh, we've got some no's now. Maybes. It's so what's the word? Subjective. It's so subjective. It looks like a stock image. What about Joanne? She's got a nice hat. No, I'd do business with Joanne. Don't be mean. All right. What about Emma? She does own that castle in the background. Oh, she had no description, did she? Wow. do you like her hat? Great hair. Brilliant. Okay. It would only be fair to put my picture up. You're allowed to say whatever you want about me. That's fine. Absolutely. That's really kind. I wasn't looking for that at all, but it would only be fair to put my picture up. It's really annoying because the Zoom bar is right across this person's name. I think it's Owen. I can't remember. Oh, it is Owen. But he's not a graphic designer. So, if he was a graphic designer, that would be brilliant and it would be relevant. But I don't think he is. And please don't use a logo. Gosh, please don't use a logo for your LinkedIn profile. It just does not work. Now, this screenshot was taken when I only had a measly 1,000 connections. I've got a lot more now, but I just wanted to show you how connections work. And you've got first degree, second degree, third degree. I always remember a story where one of my colleagues went in to do some LinkedIn training in a university, and they genuinely, the students thought that first, second, and third was to do with what degree they might get. That's obviously not what this is about. LinkedIn. This is about how LinkedIn describes your relationships to your connections. So a first degree connection is someone who's friends with someone. A secondary connection, and you're connected, of course. So let's say I'm connected to Sally. That would be first degree. Second degree would be maybe Barry is Sally's friend, and therefore Barry would be my third degree connection. Second degree connection. And my third degree connection might be Tom, who's friends with Barry, who's friends with Sally, and therefore Tom would be my third degree connection. Also within my third degree is anyone that I'm in the same group as. So anyone that's in my in the similar group is also in my network. Now, Mel just said, I hate getting connection requests that say we have a mutual connection. Fair enough. So you're not going to like one of my next slides then. I mean, to be fair, this is all subjective. We've all got different ways of doing things. I've got a question here for you. So this is one of the last polls that I've got. So how do you decide who you connect with on LinkedIn? What are your current personal policies? Let's find out. So you don't connect with anyone. You connect with people that you've met in person. You connect with friends only, or you connect with anyone and everyone. So I'm probably the anyone and everyone. I class myself as a bit of a LinkedIn tart. But who do you connect with? You don't like the options? I apologize. Pop your details in here. So no consistent policy, depends on the message. Connect with people you virtually met. None of them, fair enough. To be fair, we've still had 72% of people answered the question. So you can't please everyone. As I said, it's very subjective. What else have we got? Accept majority unless it's a terrible sales message. Almost anyone, especially recruiters, is that you'll accept them. Just said, only link with people I've worked with. Okay, so let me show you the results. So the results here are connect with anyone and everyone wins. So there's 59% of you are tarts like me. Great. And a third of you connect with people that you've met. So only 6% connect with friends only, and 1% don't connect with anyone. Interesting. What are you doing on here? I mean, my first bit of advice is start connecting with people. So it's really important because if I show you this slide, you'll see that that bear with me a second, that having 1,000 connections in my network gives me access to 10 million people on LinkedIn. And what that means is 10 million people can see my content, and I can see, you know, potentially 10 million other people's content. So the more people you connect with, the more people that you'll be able to see. And when it comes to the point of wanting to speak to a HR director in a particular business, or a commercial salesperson in a particular business, if you've increased your connections, the chance of you knowing them or them being in your network becomes a lot higher. And so on the scale of where to go, my suggestion is the higher end of the scale on how many people to connect with. Craig's asked, how do you get that information that you're now showing? Now, LinkedIn doesn't show this, unfortunately, anymore. You can certainly see how many connections you've got if you go to My Connections, but it doesn't show you. I don't believe you can get this data anymore, which is why it's an old screenshot. Okay, so my point here is think about potentially connecting with more people. So how could you connect with more people, and how can you be found? I don't know if any of you are aware of a company called Kluber. They are a wind turbine and oil company, and I went to do some LinkedIn sales training for them. Before I went in, I connected with, I think, 2 of them on LinkedIn, and I just out of curiosity searched in LinkedIn, which is, by the way, I believe the biggest business-to-business search engine after Google. I think people are using LinkedIn search all the time. I think it's natural. We typically want to use people in our network. If we want to go to I know we can't go out at the moment. I know we're stuck indoors. But if you remember the times of going to the cinema, going to a restaurant, going to a decent hotel, we ask our friends, family, network, can you recommend a film, a movie, a hotel? We do the same on LinkedIn. If we're looking for a copyright lawyer or an accountant, we look at our connections and we think about some of the people that we know. So I just, out of curiosity, did wind turbine oil, but neither of the people that I was about to train, there was a team of about 10 of them that I was about to train, none of them came up, even though they sell wind turbine oil. So I thought, well, I'll just try oil. But again, none of them came up. And it was only when I put the word Kluber in their company, it's an old screenshot list, but I wanted to show you it. If I put the word Kluber in, all of a sudden we've got one coming up. So even with the product that they sell, they couldn't get into the top list. Holly's just asked, do many of your connections engage with your post, or is it usually just the people that you know that engage with you? So I think it depends on the content. I agree, of course, the more diluted you are, then the less engagement, the percentage of people will, of course, be far less. But for me, it's not about it's about the quality, isn't it? So it's about getting the right people to engage. I don't care about the big number of connections, because that gives me the access to the network. So we've got LinkedIn search, and let's talk about, so how can you win business from LinkedIn? Okay, so the first thing to do is to think about what content you can search. So we've talked about the profile. We've talked about how to make a great profile, use a good image, increase your privacy settings. We've talked about using the right language, thinking of keywords. The next thing we need to talk about is content. So on the home screen, you can either share your thoughts or you can share an article. So LinkedIn articles are a bit like blogs, and LinkedIn really values blogs on its own platform far more than blogs that are on our own websites. LinkedIn would much rather keep people within the network. So my advice is, if you're going to blog, consider blogging on LinkedIn on a regular basis, as well as by writing an article. But you can also share thoughts, like just posting a status, etc. So let's just have a look at different types of statuses. So these are just a couple of different types. There's some key ingredients in a really good status, I think. So these are just a couple of examples of hopefully some good recent sorry, that the left one on the left is recent. So mentioning people, using hashtags. We've got Stuart mentioned there. Mentioning people, using hashtags, asking a question, having a picture or a video. all of those things are the key ingredients, can make a post work. So it's around using hashtags, asking questions, using mentioning people, and using pictures or video. Got a couple of questions here. What you're using sharing more personal, less business style content. Lots of people are of the view just business, business, business. Would you post the blogs on your website and LinkedIn? So I think sharing personal stuff is good. You know, I would steer clear of going too Facebooky. You know, what I've just had for dinner type of thing. However, personality. We all buy from people. LinkedIn is a network of people, and imagine it as just a huge networking group that, like going into an event in a big room. But the difference with LinkedIn is that you can hear everyone, you can dip in and out of conversations, you can jump over there because someone's talking about something, but you can also, you know, when we buy something, we typically think of the price of it, and some other things come into the equation. But one of the big things that comes into the equation is trust. Do we trust that person? Do we actually, you know, trust them enough to buy something from them? And what generates trust is personality. So I think showing personality, bringing a bit of personal stuff into your LinkedIn profile is really important, because it demonstrates you as a person, and it allows me to get to know you, and it allows me to build trust. How many connections do I have? I think about 8,000. I like sharing our business LinkedIn pages. I find showcases work and generates engagement. So I think, Mel, I think I agree with how that works, and showcases and LinkedIn business pages. But I must be honest, as a user on LinkedIn, I don't really want to engage with a page. I'd much prefer to engage with a person. So whilst that might be working for you, and you know, there's no rules here, it's whatever's right for you, and there's lots of opportunity. Personally, I would much prefer engaging with people, and therefore I think there's more chance of it working well with a person. What does LinkedIn do for a blog published on LinkedIn versus my website? So how would it help? So I would have thought that LinkedIn will promote your blog much more on LinkedIn's own platform than a link to your blog off the site, because ultimately it's content that's on its own network and wants to keep it there. Would you post the blogs on your website and LinkedIn? Yes, I would. I would, to avoid duplicate content, I'd post the blog on the website, I'd post it on LinkedIn. At the bottom of the post on LinkedIn, I'd just put originally posted and then a link to the website. Google's rules are very clear about duplicate content. You can duplicate with pleasure as long as you reference where it came from in the first place. And so I'd just literally have a little link at the bottom that says where that content came from. Would you recommend having a schedule of what you're going to post, i.e. a week's timeline of what you... Yeah, having a plan. Yeah, I think having a plan is a good idea. So a couple of different posts here. Again, this one on the right was video content, well, in fact, they were both video content. So it's a similar thing. It's around asking questions, mentioning people, only for the sake of it. It's got to be authentic. Don't just mention people for the sake of mentioning people. But if it's relevant to ask these people to get involved in the post, then mention them. One of the other tricks and tips for LinkedIn, by the way, LinkedIn looks at what happens in the first 60 minutes of when you post something. So when you post something online on LinkedIn as a status, LinkedIn looks at what happens in the first 60 minutes. Now, if a post goes viral, as in it gets likes, comments, shares within the first 60 minutes, then there's more chance LinkedIn's going to promote that across the platform in bigger ways. And when someone comes on the platform in 3 or 4 days, there's a good chance that post is going to appear. So how can you can artificially inflate that? So you could have a network of people, or your team of people, your staff, your employees, or your associates, or whoever you collaborate with, and you could say, listen guys, you could send an email out, you could say, at 10 o'clock on Tuesday, I'm going to post this. Is there any chance that you could like, share, comment it? Now, it's not overly authentic. However, it's not against the guidelines, and it's quite a clever way. So it's about how can you do that in the most authentic way possible. So my advice would be the relevancy of these people. So it's about, can you, when you're posting something about X, can you make sure that the people that you ask are really relevant to that subject matter? Video, don't post YouTube links, post video directly to LinkedIn. I would agree with that. They much prefer their own content, just like the blogs. Content on LinkedIn's own platform will always do better. What time of day do you think best time to post? Depends on your audience. Loads of it really does depend. Some simple times of day that work really well though are 7 in the morning or 7 p.m. on a Sunday. But it so much depends on your audience. Honestly, it depends on their age group, their, everything. You've really got to understand the audience. So how do you build connections? Different ways of building connections. One of the ways is literally just doing a search. So you could search for a job title, and you could maybe one of your target audiences is HR directors. You could do a search for a job title, and you could find people there. Don't just click this connect button though. So I'm going to show you that in a second. Other things you can do in the free search, in the filters, you can filter by location, you can filter by industry, so you can be really clear about the target audience that you're trying to connect with. You can then do that search. Instead of clicking connect, you'd then go through to the profile. You'd have a look at the profile. You'd have a look at the previous jobs. She used to work at Asda. You can have a quick read. So I don't know if any of you know Jo, but she's second connection of mine. And you could have a look at her interests. All of this is available on her profile as a second degree connection. I can have a look at what groups she's in, can have a look at what interests she's got, and then I could invite her to connect. So if I'm trying to build up my HR director network, I could click the connect button on her profile. That opens a box for them to put some content in. Hi Jo, notice that we both know Jeff. Now this is Mel not liking this, but there we go. He was fab at Asda. I've hopefully gone to another level and made it really personal. We've got kids in the same school as someone that works. Bit stalky, Rachel says. Mel says it's a better approach. Dom was my old boss. He's great, Dom. Yeah, I mean, it might be a bit stalky, but you know what? I bet that there's a 90% chance that she'd accept that request compared to maybe a 10 or 20% chance. This is my way. It works for me. I'm just trying to open your minds up, and I will always take you to the nth degree to try and get you further out of the box ultimately. So how do you and how to filter by industry? If you just go back a few steps, you can go onto the search and the advanced search, and you can filter by industry at the bottom there. You can type in industries, etc., etc. How do you get found in Google and LinkedIn? Well, simple. Update, so you've got your industry and location in there, an up-to-date current job position with description, 2 past positions. My advice is go back to your old jobs on your profile and think keywords. So if you've got paper boy or paper girl in your old jobs, think about the keywords, think about the services and products you do now, and could you put them in, could you relate them to the job you had when you were 16? Maybe not. But could you go back and add some content to some of your old jobs? Add your education, add your skills, add a photo, and at least 50 connections. You will be a bit creepy. So Rachel says, I think you need to be very sensitive to a person, especially as a man approaching a woman. Our kids know each other. It's a bit creepy. It's fair enough. Fair enough. No, I get it. So how to increase your network, as we've talked about, you could find common interests, common connections. You could find people in the same groups. So you could find I've stuck with HR director for some reason on this webinar today, but you could go to a group where loads of HR directors are, and you could start connecting with some of them in there. Other ways, you could have a look at who's viewed your profile. So I could go to Laura, Norman, or Philippa, who I think I connected with only 2 days ago. You could go and say, notice you were looking at my profile, bit stalkerish, but why not? Other ways, you could have a look at what LinkedIn thinks to see who LinkedIn is suggesting that you could connect with. You could go into groups and have a look at the members in a group, and you could look at connecting to those people. You could stalk further. You could go to a connection, have a look at their connections, and on the right-hand side, you'll see that this is showing me all people that are connected to Samuel. So I could stalk someone else's. I don't believe it's worth paying for the premium. And I think that the free version does ample. Unless you're wanting to send sort of cold emails, then that's probably one of the biggest reasons why you'd want premium. But my advice is warm it up first in some of the ways that I've shown you. You could... so LinkedIn does get twitchy if you make too many connections. So it's about having a balance. So you might just want to add 10 or 20 a day. If you're sort of hitting the 100, then I'd slow down. So it's about the percentage of connections you've already got. So I've got quite a high number, so I can probably push the boundary quite a bit. If you've only got 200 connections, I'd only suggest connecting with sort of 10 or 20 a day at the most. You could connect your email accounts to LinkedIn, and that would allow you to find more people. The alumni function to find people, that sounds good. Sales Navigator is good. So that's a different paid version. That's a bit like a CRM. So if you're looking for a really good CRM tool, that's going to work with LinkedIn, Sales Navigator works really well. The beauty of Sales Navigator is you can put your targets in. So I can put 50 of you in my target list, and I can get a daily email that says, oh, by the way, Sally has just updated her profile and said this. You might want to go and say something. So that's from that way, it's a good point of view. You can look at contacts via company. So here I've done a search for people that work at Barclays, and then I've got a list of people that work there. And then finally, this is some old content here, but it's just to give you a flavor of how people use LinkedIn. So can you recommend a supplier of disposable paper? Can you recommend a telesales company? Can anyone recommend a sports kit for children who can supply sports kits? Mafia member that does leaflet distribution, a solicitor for copyright licensing, 24/7 hardware support, seeking an accountant, a training venue. So people are looking for help all the time. And are you there to provide the help? So we've only got a couple of minutes left. I'm not going to finish late. I hope this has been helpful. I want you to just take just a minute and think, what are you going to achieve? What are you going to achieve from LinkedIn? What are the things that I've shown you that are hopefully you're going to take from this and try and do? Maybe just throw in the comments what you've decided. What are you going to do? What's your takeaway? So we've got keywords. Thanks, Sonia. Everything. Profile review. Blogging. Clearer to the point. Brilliant. A banner. Whilst I'm here, these are just some of the things that Fleek Marketing can do. So it's on the slide there. Lots of different marketing. If you like this and want to work with us, give us a call. There's more webinars coming up that I'm running this week. So on Thursday, the 23rd, this Thursday, 10 o'clock, how to be more strategic with your marketing, how to put a simple plan together. Don't go yet because there's something important at the end. And on Monday, the 27th, we've got, I'm doing SEO, how to be loved by Google. So some live audits. Stuart, great start to Leeds Digi 20. That's very, very kind of you indeed. Thank you. And we've also got, so we set up an independent support group. So if I can ask a favor, I'd say join our support group, give advice, network, help each other, answer questions. So it would be brilliant if you could join the Coronavirus Yorkshire Business Support Group on Facebook. And that would be a way to, we're really genuinely helping people get through this crisis. It would be brilliant if some of you could help as well. Upbeat session, that's really kind. And do any of you think this is a load of nonsense? You know, challenge me with pleasure. When I close this summit, so there's two quick important things. First of all, when I close this, you're going to be redirected to a webinar, a post-webinar survey, which I'd really love your feedback on. The only way I can do this better is you telling me what you think of me. So that'll be really good. I'm also going to send you an email, and in that email, I'm going to send you a link to a LinkedIn post that I've created for you already on LinkedIn. If you engage with that post, that would be a way for you to interact with each of us, so to find out who attended, and it would be a huge favor to go over to there and use it to your advantage and try and network with each other and share. Listen, thank you so much for spending your time with me just now. Enjoy Leeds Digital Festival and have fun. And I'll speak to you all soon, and take care. See you all soon.